Welcome to creating 3D stuff. I didn't get a request for today, so I picked a project out of the hat. We're going to do this army knife, pocket knife, whatever you want to call it. Um, so, feel free, anybody can ask questions while I'm working about anything. And if you want to decide, or at least suggest, maybe decide what the next project is that we make in 3D, go to the Patreon page. There's a link in the channel, and that's where you make the project request for what you want to get made. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do to model this pocket knife is do a tiny bit of editing in Photoshop, not much. It's just mostly because of these overlapping blades, and I just want to address that in Photoshop first. So, in a sense, let's see what the resolution is of this image. It's pretty high. It's almost 4K resolution. It's probably more than we need for an object this small. So first thing I'm going to do is reduce it down. First I'll crop it a little bit closer. Then I'm going to use the canvas size tool in Photoshop and click on this bottom arrow. Oh, actually, first I'm going to reduce the size. Image size, and then I'll make it a standard 1024. For small objects, that's more than enough. I mean, you might look at it kind of closely, but this is plenty. I don't want to do overkill. Now I'm going to go to image canvas size, and then click on the bottom arrow, and then type in 1024, and that will square up the image to be... computers can read square images a little bit faster. If you notice, a lot of images on Instagram, they're square. That's for speed and easy to reduce processing power. So a lot of video games and virtual worlds will use square images, and then 1024 is just a multiple of the bit system, so it also makes it faster. So what I want to do is separate out these individual blade textures so that they're not overlapping. So if I use my polygon selection tool, and I'll start with this big one here and just cut out a version of this. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's just to kind of get the texture to apply a little bit easier in 3D. And then I could do Control T to rotate it, assuming that it doesn't crash. For some reason that it usually freezes when I do Control T while I'm streaming. I don't know why. Maybe it's using a lot of memory. I don't know. Okay, so that's good there. I'll use the clone tool, and what I can do is bring in some of this surrounding texture here to make the illusion that the corkscrew is not there. Make it easier for us to model. And then we'll model the corkscrew separately, and then put it back where it goes, because we pretty much know where it goes. I think we can remember this. My memory isn't that great, but I think I can remember this one. My opinion is that the clone tool is the reason why Adobe is a $1 trillion company almost. It's more or less. It's the one tool that no one could live without. It's like Google's search bar. That's how important the clone tool is to Adobe's success. And then pretty much after that, they just started buying companies, just like Microsoft and Facebook did, until they became a monster that everyone hands their money to. Let's grab some of these pixels and put it over here for this flathead screwdriver. It as JPEG with a compression rate of 9. And then we'll open up a fresh version of SketchUp. And then let me just bring back a couple of toolbars here. Bring back the main large tool set, and then turn on large tool buttons and tool tips. I usually turn that stuff down because I know where everything is and where the hotkeys are and stuff, because I've been doing this for a long time. But just so you can more visually see what we're working with here. Okay, so we'll grab this JPEG out of Windows Explorer, drag it into SketchUp, and right click on the image, explode, click explode, and then go to the materials tab, click on the default material right here, and then make the bottom default. I like to do that because I like to know which side is the outside of the faces and which is the inside, because all 3D surfaces have an outside and an inside. Normal, they call it. So let's turn on X-ray mode, and then let's get this to the proper scale. So I'm gonna guess that this is probably 3.6 inches long. So I'll draw a line with a pencil tool from one end to the other. And then I'll take my tape measure tool, and right now it's almost 24 feet long, but I'll click on both sides and then type in 3.6, enter, and say, do you want to resize? I say yes. So now if I tape measure it, it should say 3.6. So 3 inches and 5/8. Now the only thing is that it's very difficult to model an object this small, because the snapping of the rotation and the lines, lengths, it wants to do it within a 1/16 of an inch or so. So if I'm drawing something very intricate, a 1/16 of an inch could be from here to there, and it would jump around a lot. So what I usually do with small objects, select them all, right click, make group. Then I use the scale tool and scale it up, and then type in 10, enter. So it's scaled at a factor of 10. And then it's easier to model a larger object. So this would be 30 inches instead of 3. And then when I'm done modeling, I can scale it back down and then type in 0.1, enter, and then it goes back to the original size that it's supposed to be. So that looks good. Let's just center it using the move tool. And we'll explode it. And then go to styles and turn off model axis so it's out of our way. So now we're ready to start modeling. Let's save this. Let's go. Over here. Right click on the scene, say update, so that if we need to find our model again, we can just click on that scene, go back to that view. So let's save this. Okay, so basically we're just going to trace everything first, and then we can start extruding it, give it depth and everything it needs. So we'll just go through, use the pencil tool, and start tracing. I could probably use the arc tool for this. Once I click on the arc tool, I'll type in 7, enter, so it'll have 7 sides. That probably is good for this object. Go back to my pencil tool. We don't want it to be too sharp because we don't want to hurt anybody, so we're not going to make it super sharp. Let's try the arc tool here. Yeah, that works good. I use the pencil tool for most things, but whenever there's a good, it's a layup, basically. It's an opportunity to use one of the tools that just makes it easier. Sometimes using a tool will actually make it harder in some ways that I can just draw with a pencil easier. Okay. Actually, that's probably... I don't know if that notch is supposed to be there. I'm gonna say that's... No. Can't remember. I think it's like something that happened by accident. Okay. Let's go down the line here. This pocket knife is pretty special to me. I think I told the story in one of the other streams that when I was looking for this, for different ideas for projects to make, that when I was a kid, I used to want one of these pocket knives so bad that I would dream about it every night, about having one, and it was just like an obsession. It was pretty small. I don't remember how old I was, maybe 5. And then eventually when I did get one, it didn't seem that exciting. It was way more exciting in my dreams than it was in real life. Isn't that how most things are? You dream about getting things, and then as soon as you get it, you're like, okay, what's the next thing? It's kind of a human dilemma. It's like, as soon as I fix something on the house, I don't usually take time to celebrate and just relax and enjoy the victory. I just think, okay, what's the next thing I have to fix? I hate to admit it, but that's how it is. That's how I feel about it. remember I wanted a BB gun too, and I was pretty young, and I asked my mom if I could get a BB gun as a joke, and she actually said yes. I was like, I wasn't even expecting her to. I was expecting her to say no way, and she said yes, you can have one. I don't know if she thought that it's better than might as well get him that, because pretty soon he'll ask me for a real gun, and then I can say no, you have a BB gun already. I don't know what her thought process was. Now I have a kid, so now I have to think, okay, what am I going to allow my kid to have? And at what age can he have a pocket knife? At what age can he have a gun or a BB gun or, I don't know, flamethrower? What kids want these days. Or maybe they just want more video games. I'm gonna save it. So this can opener comes in really handy when you're traveling and can't find a restaurant to eat at, and all you have is a couple cans of beans. You just gotta stay alive. If you're just out in the desert, you're just a cowboy wandering around, you definitely want to have one of these. The corkscrew comes in handy too, because one time I wanted to open a bottle of wine. I didn't have a corkscrew, and I looked it up on YouTube how to do it. There's actually a way to do it if you just have a knife or a screwdriver. So usually, if you're in a house with a bottle of wine, you could at least find a knife. If you're you have a kitchen. So there's a way you can do it. You stick the knife in sideways, and then you start twisting the corkscrew round and round and round. Or just twisting, you can twist the cork with the knife stuck in it on an angle. And then as you're twisting it around and around in circles, it builds a little bit of a friction, and then you can slowly lift it while you're turning it. And the turning motion, I think, creates a little bit of friction. And that's what loosens it, and then it allows it to slide up, and then it worked. I was doubtful, but it actually worked. So then we have this little metal keyring holder here. We want to model that as a separate object. Let's move that up here too. And then it's going to have a hole in the middle, so we could just do a simple, maybe 12 sides, take a 12 enter. Because it's so small, we don't need to worry about it too much. Okay, so the only thing left to draw and trace is the main housing plastic area here. There's a little bit of a pointiness right here, so I'm just going to try to smooth it out. Another line. That looks better. Okay, has a little bit here too in between those arcs, because they're going at a little bit different angles. I think that's good. I'll smooth this out a little bit. Just use like a four-sided arc. There. I'll go with that. So now I can use the eraser tool and just erase the extra lines because I already have everything outlined that I need. For some reason this saw blade is not... There's one line that's not lined up the right way. I could see it right there. I'll try to find it. So if I start drawing lines that connect here, I should be able to find... Oh, there's a line not connected. All the lines have to connect perfectly or else it won't form a face. So I can just test it as I go here. So find out which part's messed up. You don't want to draw triangles because triangles will work no matter what angle they're at. But squares will anything more than 3 sides in 3D, 3D face, it has to be perfectly flat or else it won't make a face. And by the way, you know, in reality, all 3D surfaces are made up of triangles. You can't see them when you have a flat surface like this, but they're there. Trust me. That's how surfaces are made in 3D. It uses triangles. I know it sounds weird, but it's true. Okay, so we know the problem is somewhere in here. So what I'm going to do is just start deleting things. I'll draw the lines going up so I can keep track of where they're supposed to be. And then I'll delete the bottom parts of all these lines. And then I'll draw them down, but I'll hold shift and then hover over the surface so that it will draw it exactly where it's supposed to be. Now when I connect it, in theory, it should work. Yes, it did. Whew. Fixed it. Okay, now we can reapply the texture. Just use the materials window, eyedropper tool, and just reapply the texture. Let's save that. Okay, so I want to keep a nice record of this texture, so I'm going to duplicate this down just to give us a reference for the texture projection. So I'm going to start with these blades and this and start modeling them, but give it actually not that one, just these for right now. Give it the default texture for now, and then use the push-pull tool and give it some thickness. Turn off shadows and turn off X-ray. So now they have some thickness. Let's select all of those and we can smooth out all these edges that are curved at once using the Soften Edges tab, and then say Soften Coplanar, and then turn this angle up to about 20. Or 30. so that the edges that are supposed to be curved are smoothed, and the ones that are supposed to be cornered are still creased, with the exception of maybe this one. Yeah, because we want it to be a little bit more round. We can just use the eraser tool, hold down Control, and we can smooth out a few of them, that there are a few stragglers. Okay, now I'm going to reapply the texture. Select all these, click on the Materials tab, eyedropper tool, and then just eyedropper the texture back onto it. Now I can triple click each one, right click, make group. Now to get these in the right spot, I'm going to make a copy of this. And there's a trick, I can double click on this and then hold Control Shift click to deselect face, so I just have the edges selected, and then use the scale tool and I can scale up to reveal more of that texture, so I can see where these blades are supposed to go. So I can go to my top view, camera, parallel projection, turn on X-ray mode, and I can rotate these and move them into place. Okay, that should be good. You need my help?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's save that. And I'll be out for a couple minutes. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Okay, let's just quickly model these two pieces. Right click, make that a group, and then move it into place. Now this will be a ring. So what we want to do is cut it in half. Oops, I cut the wrong one. That's okay. Now, give this, it's actually just going to be a circle right here. And then we're going to have to draw another circle. So to do this, we'll get the center point of that circle. That will give us the correct length, because we're just going to take this line and we're going to select it with the selection tool. Then we're going to rotate a copy, so hold down Control, use rotate, drag it in this direction, rotate a copy and type in 90, enter, so it's 90 degrees exactly. Then we could just finish off that face. That gives us a nice angle. We'll do a circle, we'll type in 32, enter. For that, that's how many sides. We're gonna snap it to this face, hold down Shift to lock it, and there's our circle. So we have two circles. Delete the extra lines. Click on the path, click the Follow Me tool, and then click on the object. We can delete that, and now we have our ring. reapply the texture. There. Now I'm gonna do something, the texture looks really messy, so on these two objects I'm gonna apply a standard metal texture. So give it just a regular, just any old texture, and then click Edit, in the Materials tab, click Use Texture, and one of my other projects I made a standard metal, small metal texture. I'll just reuse that. I believe it was this one. Save that. Right here. It's kind of messy, so what I'm gonna do is just draw a square. Apply this texture, go to the Home button in the Materials window. Then I'm going to right click on this and say Texture Projected, so that when I project it onto here, it's a lot cleaner. And I'll probably end up making it smaller. Yeah, I like that. And then let's apply that to this surface over here as well. Let's right click on the face, texture, position, make that a little bit bigger. There. I like that better. Okay. Make group. We'll make that into a component because there's actually two of them. I'm just going to duplicate it and move it over here. Like that. I'm just going to move everything up a little bit because the shadows, I can see it's not sitting on the ground properly. Let's turn off shadows for right now. Unless we just, that might work. Yeah, let's do it like that. Okay, let's save it at this point. Now there's two more things to model. The plastic housing, handle, and then the corkscrew. So let's start with this housing here. So use the push-pull tool. Give it a thickness of about, let's see, this is the middle thickness. And actually, we're only going to model half of it, so let's make it half as thick as we think it should be. Like that. Now, we're going to bevel it. So there's one way to bevel it is to hold down Control while you're doing push-pull. Go up a little bit, select that face, and then scale it down. It's not the only way to do a bevel, but it's just one way you could do it. There's a few different methods. you could use the follow me tool and draw a triangle on the outside. And we're gonna bevel it, do a double bevel. So let's make this a little bigger. And then do another bevel. Just like that. And then scale it in. Okay, let's delete any extra faces we don't need. And then smooth out the edges. And then reapply the texture. See what that looks like so far. It's looking pretty good so far. Definitely gonna have to mess with the texture on the outside edge. One thing we can do to start off with, just make this texture reference a little bit bigger. That should smooth out some of the texture on the edges to start off with. That's too much. Let's make it a group and move it up. Let's see what we can do here. Just pull it out just slightly. That's too much. See what that does. See, that's better, but I can still see some streaking. See how that looks. Yeah, it looks a lot better so far. Okay, let's model this notch here. So I'll turn on view, hidden geometry, so I can see our lines here. And I want to grab some of these lines, rotate them in a little bit. Then I can use the pencil tool to finish drawing this notch here. And then we'll use the eraser tool. Oops, didn't want to do that. See, what I'll have to do is I'll have to explode the curves, because these are single curves. So triple click, right click, explode curve. So now when I delete parts of that curve, it won't delete the whole thing. And now I can use the push-pull tool to pull that down. Then I'll reconnect the rest of this mesh with this. Okay, just reapply that material. Then we'll use the push-pull tool, turn on hidden geometry, and just pull it down a little bit more. Give that a place for that corkscrew to sit. Okay, so now we want to copy this mesh and mirror it down. Now let's use the eraser tool, hold down Control, and smooth out some of these edges. Okay. So let's grab this mesh, move, hold down Control, duplicate that down, do scale, start to scale it, type in -1, enter. Now we want this to not have a notch on the bottom part. So we're gonna have to do a few tricky things here. We're gonna have to fix the model first. So let's bring this face back up. So let's delete this inner part that we don't need. Now we can start to fix the mesh by just drawing these Okay, so let's smooth this out. Smooth these lines out. So now we're going to have to do a texture trick. So what we're going to do is mirror this texture right here over to this side. And the way we're going to have to do that is make a copy of this mesh, move, hold down control. Then we're going to scale it to -1 to get the texture over here. Now we're going to have to view hidden geometry and then cut this into pieces so that we can see, we can just apply it to that part that needs the corrected texture that is kind of fixing it. So for example, that half of this model to like about there, and then across here. So we're patching up this little patch here. So now we can select that on its own and give it its own texture, which will be this texture right here. Turn off X-ray mode, and then just go ahead and smooth out these lines again. And we're gonna call that good. Now we can move this up and snap it to there. Smooth out these lines. We will need to have a notch for these blades to go into. I forgot about that. And to smooth out the lines, you just use the eraser tool and hold control while you're doing it. And instead of erasing, it'll smooth. Okay, so let's see here. So to cut out a notch, we can use what's called a Boolean. It's basically taking two objects and one is just meant to cut out a piece of the other one. Because this is fine, and then we just need a straight notch cut out. So let's go to our view. We'll save this. Okay, so to do a Boolean, we need to draw a second object, which we're just going to do a simple rectangle. Use the push-pull tool to give it some thickness, about that much. Let's turn it into a group. First of all, I need to reverse the faces because when we cut it out, it's going to be reversed. So reverse face is first. That will make the tan part. It's facing us right now, but once it's cut out, it'll be the opposite. Make the group, move it in to the right place, about halfway. We'll center it, and now we're going to select this object and this object, and then make that into a group, because we don't want to mess with the other objects. So we're going to go View, Component, Edit, Hide, Rest of Model, and then select everything, explode it, and then say intersect with selection, not with the model, because that would cut all the different surfaces. Then we can delete. We're just basically going to delete anything we don't want. View, hidden geometry, and then just delete out the extra stuff. There it is. That might be a little bit excessive. We could simply use the push-pull tool to close it up a little bit. And then we could just apply that same material to the rest of these faces. That's fine for now. Okay, we can delete this. So now the only thing left to model is the corkscrew, which is a little bit tricky. I think there's probably a plugin we could use to model it. So let's save this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate it so it's standing up, because that's easier to do the twisting modeling. So basically, the way I see it, the way I've seen it done in the past is you're going to draw a cylinder. So we'll start with a circle and try to get it the right diameter. A little bit bigger than that, probably a little bit smaller than that. Okay, so that's our diameter. Then we'll make it the right length. And then, actually, before I do that, I'm going to reduce the amount of sides. It has 32 sides, it doesn't need that many. We'll do 8. Now let's do 12. Okay, 12 sides. We don't want this to have so many polygons that it takes a long time to load. It takes a lot of information. Okay, now I'm going to grab that line and duplicate it down to the bottom, and then type in /20, enter. Just let me redo that. /20, enter. So it's dividing it into 20 different sections, but I probably want more than that. So let me do divided by 45, enter. Because when it does the twisting motion, we need to have segments that it can use. I'll try to do it manually here. Let's try this again. Just rotate it 5 degrees. in there? It doesn't seem possible. Did I do something wrong? That looks... Oh, I rotated the whole thing 5 degrees, then I started doing these 10 degrees rotation, and then I switched to 5 because my brain just switched over. So I rotated the whole thing 5 degrees, and all these little segments I'm rotating at 10 degrees from the center point, and it's looking pretty good so far. Might end up using this. I just want to try experimenting with pulling a piece of this out and seeing if I could duplicate it. So if I go up to here, maybe if I rotate it, hey, it worked. Whoa! It worked. Now I can take these two pieces, duplicate them up, follow the line up to here, and rotate it this direction. There, it worked. And then just keep doing that. Follow the line up. Go. Rotate it. It's working. Now I need to scale it down. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad actually. Woo, woo. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for right now. I could always go back and make it better later, but let's go with it for now. So the really cool trick is to try to get one complete cycle, and it's not always... in theory it should line up because I've rotated everything at 10 degrees, but it's that weird 5-degree rotation that messes us up, so... it does line up. I think we could do this. I think if we explode everything... Explode, curve, everything, and then just cut it where this line intersects perfectly with that line. We should have one complete cycle, like an EKG machine, and then we could just literally just keep duplicating this as many times as we want, and easily just... So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spirals. I click on this, move it, hold control to duplicate it, snap it to there, and then type in 6 and X, enter, and then it duplicated the spiral up like that. We don't need a plug-in, let's just do our own thing. Yeah. It's not perfect. But you know what? I don't want to hear it. Now let's let's take this last one. Delete that, it looks a little weird. Take this last one and close it up, make it pointy. Let me save it. I'm going to pull this up a little bit, accentuate the point a little bit. Now I'll explode all of this stuff, and then do soften edges. There. Then apply our metal material to it. Let's do the one that's already textured properly. Oh, it's not. I thought that was projected. There we go. So right click on the face, texture projected. And now it'll look nicer and project straight through. Use the eyedropper tool in the materials window. That looks a lot better. Select that, make it a group, rotate it 90 degrees, move it over here. And that's our corkscrew. We did it. We don't need no plugins. Yeah, we'll do it ourselves. Okay. This was fun. I will have to say. I always like to go model info, statistics, purge unused to get rid of any extra stuff we don't need in the model. Last thing, I could just select everything, right click, and make it a component. That way, if you're moving it around in a different scene, it's all together. I will turn the brightness up a little bit. I think I want to mess around with the angle of the shadows. Probably like that. That's probably good right there. Just gonna pull this back a little bit. Better. Cool. calling it done. We'll save the original file. And thank you everybody for watching. This was a lot of fun. I can't wait to ideas you have. You can go to the Patreon page. There's a link in the channel. Okay.